Alright, okay, so Josep has been learning about capitalism. Oh, by the way, Josep is Josep, alright? Josep. So he has been talking about capitalism, he has been studying it, and actually that's the main reason why we met up today, because for me as a businessman and an entrepreneur, I love capitalism. I feel that, can you imagine if I work so hard and I try to make so much money and then eventually everyone gets the same amount? I wouldn't like that kind of system, you know. I love capitalism. But the one thing about capitalism is that winner takes all, and the reason why we need to study. I was never interested in politics. I never was interested in capitalism, Marxism, or whatever until about recently. Okay, like maybe 2 or 3 months back, when I started to understand, when I started to lead a team of like 100 plus salespeople, and I was thinking, what's the best system to use to manage a team of 100 plus? Is it the Singapore's judiciary system or the UK or what, right? So I started diving into politics, and all I can say is that everyone should know politics, because it affects you. A lot of people think that, hey, politics doesn't affect me. Oh, I don't plan to be a politician. I just sort of vote and all that. Politics affects you. Politics affects businesses. Politics affects our welfare. Politics affects a lot of things. Politics affects you. And in order to understand how to thrive in a system, first you have to understand the system. In order to understand how to thrive in the world, first you must understand the world. In order to understand how to thrive in a business, first you must understand economics, how demand and supply. And so that you don't get eaten by the other sharks. You know, a lot of people who do businesses, they don't even know what's demand and supply, and they think that, oh, so long as I want to sell something and people are willing to buy, you know, you need to look a bit more macro before you can go back micro and mind your own business, right? So Josep today will be sharing about capitalism and how it's a winner takes all thing, and okay, what's the pros of capitalism, what's the cons, and what does capitalism mean for those viewers who don't know, who have never heard of this word capitalism before. Just yeah.
Hi. Well, first, thank you a lot for giving me this opportunity to share. So, I've been studying capitalism and Marxism since I was 9 years old. I've read many books about it, and also in general of all political science and history. And I would like to share these insights with you. To me, the most important thing when talking about a political system is to understand that political systems happen because of a reason. We don't have capitalism now and not 1,000 years ago just because people wanted it. Most of the times this is because some conditions allow it to happen.
When did capitalism start?
By 1600s.
1600s.
So, actually, before 1600s, there used to be something called feudalism. In feudalism, there was a few people who had the power over weapons and armies or religion. Basically, the people who had the means of production. This means the money, and this meant the investments and the ways of doing things. And these people passed it to their children because of inheritance. And if you were born in such a family, you would be able
to... It's like a dynasty, like you just keep passing.
It's, in a way, it's similar to, for instance, caste systems, right? If you are born into a caste, then you continue that business. Whether you like it or you don't like it, you continue that business. If you are rich, you are rich. If you are poor, you are poor. There's nothing to do.
Correct.
From there, especially in Europe and America, we evolved to capitalism. Capitalism is essentially the same thing. However, now anybody or a bigger number of people are capable of becoming rich. So now we have new ways that people can manage to make profit and become rich, right? This started with Industrial Revolution, people setting factories, right? Because before that, you could only make money basically either by work or you could do it by work. You know, you fight wars, you loot somebody else.
By war. Oh, okay.
And you take their loot, and you become rich, right? You steal. Essentially, it's a beautiful way of saying that you steal from somebody else.
All right.
The other way was to do agriculture, but agriculture is very slow. So that's why, you know, you had to pass your crops to your children. That's why if you have crops, you become rich and you are rich. If you don't have crops, you will not get crops. There's not much you can do. Then when Industrial Revolution happens, people can set factories, right? Factories are easier to set, are faster, and they produce much more. So even people who were not that rich at the beginning, artisans, small businesses, could easily grow and scale up a lot. So much that actually they became the rulers of the new world. These are the capitalists.
Who became the rulers? The
factory setters, business owners.
The
People
business
who
owners.
set factories to manufacture stupid things like, the stupid things for nowadays us, right? But we are talking of 19th century here especially, so things like textile, sugar, iron, wool, all these, like manufactures, things that require some very easy manufacture could be scaled very easily with factories, right? So as these people could do this is easier, you can scale faster, you can become a millionaire in a few years actually. This was impossible before unless you stole from somebody else. So for the first time in history, only 200 years ago, people was able to become rich and abundant without having to steal from others or having a lineage behind them. This changed the world, and this is what set capitalism, set democracy. More people participated because more people could become the boss. More people could become abundant. It's a progression in this sense.
Can an economy be capitalist and communist at the same time?
No,
Not possible, right?
It's impossible because in capitalism, so yeah, there's a very important concept to know about, which is how to set prices. In capitalism, we set prices through market economy, right?
Demand and supply.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in reality, the key problem is that nobody really knows how much the thing is worth, right? How we decide how it's worth is how much
willing to pay,
we
and how much is
agree
willing
and
to sell for,
we are willing to pay, right? And that's not a perfect system, but it's one that has worked very well. The thing is that in communism, this is impossible. The moment you set the prices this way, you have capitalism. The moment you change that, you don't have capitalism anymore. The whole core of capitalism is the market system.
So capitalism is not a political system, it's an economic system, would that be right?
Well, yes, it's an economical system. However, any economical system has very deep political implications at the same time, and religious and sociological ones.
All right.
And vice versa too. Basically, politics affect economy, economy affect politics, religion affect politics as well.
Yeah, definitely.
It's all affect all systems.
Yeah, correct. So, so the good thing about capitalism is that it's free for all. Like anyone, regardless of your background, you have a chance. You have an equal opportunity to succeed. Right?
Yes, exactly.
And so, what are the best things that we can do as individuals to make sure that we are positioned at the best side of the game?
Make your own business.
Make your own business.
Make your own business. I
So
mean,
don't work for other people.
a system is built
Don't work for
around
other
the
people.
winners. Well, it can also work for others. However, it's important to understand that the system is always made and built around those who win. Those who are rich set the rules. The winners set the rules.
Would you
So
say that
be one of them.
Would you say that in capitalism, the rich are the people who control the world?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, more than the politicians. For example, if the Rockefellers,
That's,
right, any day he wants to change the price of oil, or he wants to stop a war or start a war, because wars need a lot of oil, he can just raise the price because he has the resources.
Yes, that is true. And at the same time, it's also true that politicians have a lot of power. It's difficult to say because this is very difficult to understand. It's very hidden world, very small world. However, it's clear that different parts of the world, business people have different roles. It's not the same, the role of business people in America than it would be, for instance, in Singapore or in Saudi Arabia, right?
Yeah.
Or in France. Every country has a different set of rules. So to me, this already means that business people, rich people generally, don't have all the power over us.
Okay.
This being said, they do have a lot of power.
Yeah,
they
they
can
do have
change
a lot of
many
control.
things. And
They do have a lot
to
of
me,
influence,
I
yeah.
think that things like, for instance, Warren Buffett, that or Bill Gates, that decide that they are gonna give back their wealth by their lifetime.
Yeah.
It's beautiful because it's the first time that people decide to use their, accumulated power, because money is power at the end of the day, to make other people's life better. It's beautiful.
It has never been done before in history.
Perhaps somebody did.
Yeah.
However, not at this level.
Yeah, not
there
the
was
top
not
two
such an
richest.
awareness.
Yeah, without the Gates Foundation.
Yeah,
And all
and
that.
this to me is a sign actually that we are moving from what's the word? A scarcity-based society
To an abundance.
to an abundance-based
Right.
society.
Actually, Andrew Carnegie once talked about this. He talked about how when you make money past a certain mark, it is our duty or societal duty or moral obligation to give back to the society when you make past a certain mark. Which is why if you look at all the roads in Singapore and all that, they're all after philanthropies, you know. Yeah, and because that is how it should be. That's how it should be. Anyway, so I was reading this book about politics. It's called The Dictator's Handbook. Why bad politics is why bad behaviour is almost always good politics. Why bad behaviour is almost always good politics, because
That's a good one.
yeah, so it's got The Dictator's Handbook on how to be a dictator. And okay, have you read the big book before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I just summarize the book quickly. So the book says that to be a dictator or to be a politician or to be someone in power, right? Actually, the state shouldn't be concerned about the welfare of the people. That is a concern, but that's not the primary concern. The primary concern of any dictator or any politician or any person who is in power is three groups of people. Number one, the enforcers, also known as the police force, right? Number two is the investors. And number three is the military, to guard against the external. So, police for internal, the businesses, or the people who can keep the politician in power, and the third one is the military. So he said that all you have to do, right, is to take the nation's wealth and pay to these three people, because these are the three groups of people that will keep you in power in that work.
Yeah.
And so that subtitle is very, very catchy. Why bad behavior is almost always good politics. And after that, when I started to think about it myself, I thought that, hey, maybe it could be true that there are some times where the best thing that is in the best interest of the welfare of the whole nation might not be the best for the country or the country's GDP. I mean, the argument is that it's best for a country to be rich, and that's how the people will automatically they have better welfare. Rather than you try to take care of the welfare of people, and then people get lazy. For example, like if let's say in a very socialist country, right? And then there's free healthcare, and then anytime you don't want to report to work, you just go and get an MC and you get it for free, and then it just promotes laziness and all that, you know. And for me, I take a more right-wing approach, which means I believe in survival of the fittest. You know, I love everyone, okay, I care for everyone, but at the same time, I realize that not everybody can be entrepreneurs, not everybody can be successful, and yeah, I realized that most of the failure is the default. The default mediocre equals failure, you know, and it's about survival of the fittest, and yeah, and that's how the world works. That's how nature works. The species that is the fastest or the smartest or the most adaptable to change, those are the ones that survive, right? So it's not about taking care of the welfare of everyone. If you look at it, 99.9% of the species right now that we have in planet Earth is extinct. You know, everything we have now is only 0.1% of what has ever existed in the past million years. Dinosaurs have existed, dodo birds have extinct, and all that. So my main point being that they didn't deserve to survive. That's not how nature works. Nature didn't. They didn't deserve to survive in the eyes of nature. And so in the whole political system, that's how it should be also. It's not about taking care of the welfare of the dinosaurs or what. I mean, God or the universe or the world didn't care about the dinosaurs' fate, you know. Yeah, they cared more about, you know, yeah. Yeah. So do you agree that bad politics, the bad behavior is almost always good politics? Yeah.
I mean, I agree that bad behavior is very common in politics.
Yeah.
That I think is very true.
Yeah.
And it is also true that, I mean, bad behavior defined as, you know, use of the force is definitely at the core of politics.
Sorry? The use of force.
You know, use of force is at the core of politics. John Locke, one of the main philosophers of politics, already said in the 15th century that the state is the one who has the monopoly of the force, of the violence. That's what, actually, even nowadays in the 21st century, the basic and standard definition of a state is that who has the monopoly over violence.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is to say, the one who exerts the force has a lot of power.
Yeah.
And I think that this is the real power over all. Because you might have no money, you might have no health,
force, yeah.
but if you have no life, you
Imagine I
are
have a lot of money,
right?
but someone has a gun. You
Yeah.
just shoot me and take my money.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly, right?
Yeah, alright.
Not very useful. That's also why.
Which is why mafia last time was so scary, you know?
Yeah.
Because they were the government.
And
like
that's why governments are so afraid of mafias and terrorist groups. Because if you think about it, that's what both of them try to do. They try to supplant the state. A terrorist group would like to implant their own state, either an independent one or one within the state. And mafias, basically, they don't try to be the state, but they try to rule.
yeah.
So as long as there is a mafia, the state has no power. That's why states tend to be so hard against them and be such a political issue in itself. So I completely agree with the use of force is very, very important,
Yeah.
super important. And a good use of force, bad use of force can lead to a good
Okay,
result.
but do you think it's possible? Let's talk about idealism. Let's talk about the ideal utopia where we rule based on love.
Oh, that's difficult.
And because if you look at it, okay, or maybe let's put it this way. Do you think that Jesus would have made a good politician?
No.
No, right? No, definitely not.
Sorry
right?
for him, but no.
Because the fact that he got crucified when he was 30 years old shows that he would not have made a good politician. But then again, would he have made a good teacher, or would he have made a good I mean, his teachings, his legacy has survived the past 2,000 years. So my point
And-
my point is that I don't know what's my point.
It's fine. Let me. I want to share this with you.
Yeah.
Because you know that actually Jesus is crucified by being a terrorist.
yeah.
Might sound very strange. Perhaps some of you might find out what I'm saying completely outrageous. I'm not saying he was one. I don't think he was one. Actually, I think he, really wanted to change the world for the better, and he had a heart full of love. And it's really sad that he got killed. I mean, seriously. However, I think it's important to understand the context, not Jesus himself, but the context in which he was, and what people thought about him when he died, particularly Jews. And in this case, the thing is that, as the Bible explains, right, Jesus is crucified because of the crime of attacking the merchants in front of the temple. This, the standard explanation is that the merchants were selling in front of the temple, and this was spoiling the religion in Jesus' point of view. However, it's important to understand that actually what these merchants were selling was currency exchange. What they were not selling products by themselves. Their main goal was to do currency exchange.
Like
Why would they
forex
do
trading
that? Because at the time in Jerusalem, there used to be many currencies. In the past, this was very typical. Every single village has their own currency. And every year, everybody from every village had to go to Jerusalem to pay taxes. Now, the state, which was essentially the church in that time, at the temple, only accepted one type of currency, which was the official one. So if you came from the village, you had to change your currency to the temple's currency, so you could pay the taxes, right? So people was going to the temple to pray and also to pay taxes. There was these two goals. We are talking of 2,000 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Church and state were very much the same thing at the time. So, when Jesus attacks the currency exchange in front of the temple, who is he attacking?
The merchants and the politicians.
And the politicians
Yeah.
and the state. He's going against the tax collection. Because he attacks the temple, they collect less taxes. Imagine how, politicians how happy would they be if somebody tried to stop, tax collecting agency to collect taxes. That's why he is charged for. He's charged for terrorism. That's why he's crucified. And there is this story of Barabbas. How is it pronounced in English?
Barnabas.
Barabbas?
Which one? The one who,
The criminal.
Yeah, Barnabas.
Yeah. So remember that there is one of the scenes, right?
Yeah.
In which the
Yeah, they
people
ask
choose
who-
between
Jesus
Jesus
and
and Barabbas, right? And Jesus chose one. So Barabbas is a rapist.
Yeah.
Right, and
so
a
they
criminal.
chose Barnabas to be freed instead.
Yeah. And Jesus, what he is?
Yeah.
A terrorist. For the people are judging him, for them, this is a terrorist. Now, who would you save? A criminal or a terrorist?
Yeah. Yeah, which is true because I mean, Jesus wasn't the most popular in his time, you know. If he had been a politician in a democratic state, he probably wouldn't have been very popular. However, that being said, do I believe that? But he is still the king of all kings, you know, to some people, right? And he is still a king, you know. Why? Because his ideologies has spread throughout.
Yeah.
And
2,000 years.
Yeah.
Over 5 continents.
Correct.
And
he preaches love. He doesn't preach fear. Maybe a little bit of fear, a little bit of guilt if you've seen and all that. But he preaches mainly love. And so I do believe that a state can be controlled by love, but not be controlled by a person.
Yeah.
By love.
I think
a
so.
state can be controlled by a consensus of people who love each other. And
I agree, and I feel that again. I mean, I'm saying all this story, you know, to make people aware of the real story behind it. This being said, Jesus is very important, you know. I mean, and he really made a big change. Even more if he had decided to be a politician and try to change small things. He actually changed many more things doing the way he did it. This being said, my mother always says that, you know, if to be a genius, you need to be strange.
yeah.
Because if you were not a genius, you know, if you were not a strange, you wouldn't be a genius.
Yeah.
And for a man like him, you know, 2,000 or more years advanced to his time, well, I guess that being crucified, you know, perhaps there was no other way that people of his time would have understood him.
Yeah, that's very true. So, for example, like you know, The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you definitely have heard of that. So, in the book, he talks about how it is better to be feared than to be loved. It's better for a ruler to be feared than to be loved, right? Because fear allows you to control people, whereas love is like it's powerful, and it can be a very powerful and influential thing, but it's better to get people to fear you than to love you. And so a politician who only operates on love, it's very hard for him to stay in power. Why? Because right now, in the general consensus, someone who can use fear to his advantage, right, will more likely overthrow the politician who uses love. Because the politician who uses love, he cannot do underhand techniques and all that. Whereas the bad politician who can use all the underhand technique can rise to power, which is why I believe that's why the book is called Why Bad Behaviour is Almost Always Good Politics, because a good politician will have to be confined by his integrity, values and all that. You know, like Liu Bei, he went to conquer Qingzhou. This is a Chinese 3 kingdoms, right? So Liu Bei, he went to conquer Qingzhou, but he didn't dare to conquer because he was afraid of what people will say about him if he go to Qingzhou and he conquered Qingzhou. So he didn't conquer Qingzhou, and he waited like years before, and he had an advisor that died and sacrificed his life so that he can conquer Qingzhou, just so that he will be respected by everyone, that he is a virtuous ruler with full of integrity and all that. Whereas Cao Cao, he didn't give a damn what people think about him, and that is why he could become so effective as a warmonger, as a ruler, as a warlord, because he can do things that Liu Bei cannot do. Yeah, but then again, Cao Cao wasn't very loved, or actually he was pretty loved by his officials. He took care of them quite well. But the general consensus, like everyone thinks that Cao Cao is a terrorist or Cao Cao is a devil. So does bad behavior always make good politics? Maybe, maybe not. That's still a debate. And you wanted to say something?
Yeah. Well, I would like to make a redemption for Machiavelli.
Yeah.
Because I feel that history has made a very bad name for him.
Yeah. History makes Machiavelli, if you go and Google, history makes Machiavelli to be the devil of his time.
And it's just the opposite.
Yeah.
You know? Because Machiavelli, he was living in Florence in the 16th century. At that time, it was a time of a lot of changes, political changes.
Yeah.
Like there were political changes every 10 years in those cities. And Machiavelli was a firm believer of democracy. At some point, and at Florence, they had the prince who was ruling. And then they had the parliament, who were, other rich people who wanted more democratic reforms. At one point, the parliament achieved to kick out the Medicis, the prince, and send him away. And they started a democratic system in Florence. However, the prince was not alone. He went to the other princes, get an army, went back. And then Machiavelli and all the others had to flee away. Right? Now, Machiavelli was living away from went to exile. But this made him very sad because, he was really involved in politics and he wanted the best for Florence. And at some point he decided that he really wanted that, even if he had to cope with a non-democratic system. You know, that he would help Florence, even if that was not in the system he wanted.
What was the system at that time?
So the original system was the prince rules, period. If you don't like me, I kill you. Then they moved to democracy, which was more like parliamentarism.
It was like a dynasty where
Yeah.
you just pass on to your son. Okay,
Yeah, basically the richest person in the town gathers power through force and keeps that power.
Yeah.
And what they wanted was to change to parliamentarism, which means that all the rich people in the town agree to talk in a room and not to kill each other, and make, you know, election systems and regulate everything so there's less violence, right? And so Machiavelli at some point decides that even if it has to be with a prince, with this, you know, dictatorship system, he wants to go back and help the city. And that's when he writes The Prince, this book. And actually, when he writes in there, it's not his beliefs. What he writes actually there is what the actual Medici prince was doing. He's not really inventing anything. He was just explaining what the prince is doing and explaining it in a way that makes him look good.
That's cool. It says that for the ruler that sacrifices what is for what ought to be is sure to go into ruin. Someone who's too idealistic, who wants to live in a utopia and is super idealistic, it's not practical. It's not practical. Machiavelli teaches very practical politics. This is how the world is.
Yeah.
This is how you can succeed in the world.
Yeah.
And this is the how-to book to how to keep your power. You know, it's not about how to create the best world where everyone wins, where
And to me, this is a very important lesson I learned from politics, which is that if you want to change something, the first thing you need is to change it. You need to have the power. Power without, wish without power is nothing. It's the life of misery, basically.
Yeah.
You know, you want to change the world, you want to make it better, you want, the environment to be better taken care of, you want people to suffer less poverty. Yeah. There's thousands of things to do.
When we talk about power, we're talking about political, economic, social, all kinds of power, yeah.
But it can be anything. It can be changing the, health system. It can be changing, anything you want to change. No matter how much you want it, if you don't take action, if you don't gather the support of other people, if you don't convince people, you are not going to change anything. Even for your business. I mean, at the end of the day, a business is about changing things, how things are done. If you don't have the power, no matter how good your idea is, if you don't go and do it and gather the, put together the logistics of it and this and that and that and that, your wishes will go with the wind.
Yeah.
Take action.
Yeah.
I come from Spain. It's a very revolutionary place, right? Everybody always likes to boast about how they want to change the world, and if they ruled it, how good it would be. And none of them takes action. And you know what happens? That nothing changes. Or that things change actually, but in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
You want to change the things, don't ostracize yourself saying, no, now I'm in my small world.
I feel that the system right now is so genius, like the system. Like if you look at the political system and the economic system of the whole world and of Singapore, like how it all gels together, and it just makes sense, right? It's just remarkable. It's like if you really go and understand like economics and politics and each and everything, and it gels together,
Very well.
Yeah. So it's amazing. It's amazing.
And that to me is the thing. Like will, personal will makes a lot in history, makes a lot in politics and economics and everything. Be yourself and go out.
Yeah.
And seize the power. Do what you feel like and fight. And also, and this is to me the second part of the story, because power without any wish to make the world better, without any value, just for the sake of it, is also bad. It's corrupting for oneself.
Correct.
And I think
Hitler
that
had a lot of power, Stalin had a lot of power. Yeah.
And I would say, for instance, I would put many politicians, right? They want to get to the top. Many CEOs want to get to the top, and sometimes happens that some of them get to the top, and when they're at the top,
they're not visionary enough to understand what it means to be able to be a leader. It's not easy to be a leader. It's not easy.
And then they ask themselves, why am I doing this for? Right? I mean, I've achieved, I've reached to the top. I'm still as unhappy as I was before.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that here is where the other side of the balance is. Like, power without values. It's without wishes. It's an empty box. It's just for fulfilling your own ego, and will probably destroy you. Yeah. Deep inside your health and your life and
True.
who you are.
It's not practical, and even if you're not a spiritual person, it doesn't make sense. So do you feel that it's better to be feared than to be loved?
I think it depends. I think that the context depends. If we are in a context of scarcity, say that there is one meal and two people, better be feared than be loved, right? I mean, if there's one meal for 10 people, I prefer to be the one with the sword and be feared, because I'm gonna get it, right? This being said, if you're in an abundance situation in which there's enough for everyone, fear goes nowhere.
Abundance, yes, correct.
And I think that we are currently transitioning from one system to the other. We are going more and more, especially in countries like Singapore.
And the reason why is because there's more wealth in the world than there has ever been years ago. And because of human beings' ability to be able to harness energy and all that, there's no way the earth can sustain 7 billion human beings in the past. But now it's possible because agriculture and all that is machines, and there's so many things that we can do which we would never have been able to done years ago. Yeah.
And that's the thing, as you move to
Which is
abundance,
why we need love,
and as you move to abundance space, right? When I can get a job or another job, if you are my boss and you want to be very fearful with me and you press me a lot, I will leave to another job because there's more jobs to do, right?
Yeah.
So, and the same could happen in a country. If you oppress me a lot, I can move to another country. I have now the means to move myself and my wealth with me.
And I want to talk about how, about love. You see, the thing about, the reason why I love love so much, right, is that if let's say I sell a drink, right, that means in exchange for money, right, so I sell a drink to Josep, Josep gives me money, I give him a drink. That means I have less drink and he has less money. Whereas if I give love, I get more love, So this equation is so beautiful because it's not a zero-sum game. It is it's win-win. Love is win-win, And I believe, I was just thinking about this just when you were talking, that because Elon Musk also talked about how eventually we have a universal economy. Means, right, we have robots taking care of everything, our food supply, our everything, right? That human beings don't have to work anymore in order to survive. Means if you want to work, by all means, it can be your passion. You can go and play pool all day. You can go and play golf all day. You can go and do your passion all day, right? And I believe at that point of time, right, what will make money will be those who know how to love, those who have empathy, those who know emotional quotient, and those who are able to connect with human beings and are able to give love. And love will be the ultimate resource, because love is a resource that just gets more the more you give it. It's not a resource like oil or sugar where the more you give it, the less you have, and demand and supply, and it's affected by price. Love is an overabundant resource, and it's in every of us, to give love.
And I always put a good example in this, which is that typically in the textbooks of economy, right, when they talk about market prices, supply and demand, they say, okay, so I make screws, right, and you offer it by $5 and I offer it by $3. What am I going to buy? 3 or 5? 3. Come on, who would not buy 3?
Correct.
Now, that's that was great in the past. In the past, the things we used to sell were things like iron, textile,
raw
wood,
materials,
very simple things. But as we go on and on, right now, when you go, when you are with your family or your girlfriend or your friends and you have to dine, where do you go? To the food court, where you,
or the hawker center,
or the hawker center that you pay $5,
cafe,
or you go to a fancy restaurant. And particularly, which one do you go on? The one that has the best quality price offer, or the one you feel like it? So the more we go in the future, the more we will be based on our emotions and what we feel like doing. Nobody will be selling any more screwdrivers.
And Jack Ma also talked about it, how LQ, love quotient, is more important than EQ, emotional quotient, which is more important than IQ, intelligent quotient. So the founder who's able to love more, give more love, and show people how to love, these are the organizations that's going to succeed, because an employee that is loved by the CEO will be able to love the customers, who will be able to love the CEO more, who will be able to love the employees, and it's going to create this beautiful ecosystem. And that's why I believe we can absolutely create a world where everyone wins, because everyone can love, everyone can give love, and everyone can receive love. Some people don't know how to yet. but they'll all get there. They'll all get. Alright. Okay, let's talk about the next video, which is about spirituality and love. Alright.